Hello everybody and welcome to this week's Life or Biz Wisdom. I want to talk to you tonight about the magic, what I think is magic anyway, of creating structure in our businesses to create freedom, but making sure that it's what I call a flexible structure. And in fact, I actually use the phrase shaping because I like that better than the word structure, that's for sure. Hello, thanks for joining. And Patricia, lovely, nice to see you. And I want to talk to you a little bit about what that actually means, this idea of a flexible structure and how it can bring you freedom in your business and in fact in your life as well. So for most of people who are highly creative and spiritual, not all, but a lot of them, working in the traditional way of starting at a beginning point, working in just one straight line to the end point, and having a lot of structure about what you do in between, all those steps in between. And what I mean by that is having them all predetermined, having them very, very, very specifically defined and spelt out ahead of time, and excuse me, and booked into your calendar or your diary ahead of time. For a lot of people who are highly creative and spiritual, that is like almost close to death. That's really, really suffocating. Excuse me. Because it can feel like we're really hemmed in. If we're creative, if we are free spirits, that can really feel really confining and overwhelming and really obviously not enjoyable. It then becomes more like a chore rather than things that we want to be doing that hopefully are going to be progressing our lives and our businesses. Now, that's in contrast to people who, there are definitely lots of people who thrive on that. They need a lot of structure. And in fact, they can feel overwhelmed when it's the opposite, when there's actually not enough structure for them. There's too much leeway with it, too much that's not definite. Maybe it's not scheduled very, very tightly, or is not defined, again, with a lot of detail. And so we all vary, and it definitely, I think, is along a continuum. So there are those who are perhaps more, their businesses might be more your traditional, maybe, and this is a generalization, I know that it's not necessarily the case for everybody, but generally speaking, it might be, like I came from a project management background, and that was very highly structured. All that I said in terms of working out every detail and timing it and all that sort of stuff is exactly what I had to do, and those around me, in terms of us managing and delivering projects. So it might be in that type of area, or possibly in finance, or engineering, that type of thing. Again, I am generalizing. It's not to say that everybody who works in those areas loves that amount of structure, because if they actually have these tendencies to be a free spirit and love to have the idea of flow as part of, and flow in a really flexible way as part of their way of doing things. Also, if they may be really wanting to bring in the emotional side of things, when we do that, it's using what is our right side of our brain, meaning the creative, the spiritual, the emotional side, where it's not just getting those things done, which is that logical linear side, which is the left side of the brain. It's actually also thinking, how do I feel about this? Do I feel that I want to do this now? Do I feel it aligns with my energy? And taking into account other people's emotions and feelings as well can be a part of that. So there are definitely, as I said, people at every part along the spectrum. But if you are highly creative, emotional, and I mean that in a positive way, unfortunately, I think when we use the word emotional, it can almost have a negative connotation. I just think wow, that's just, no way is that the case, I think. And spiritual from the point of view of, as I said, wanting this flow and tapping into energy, then having a lot of structure can actually, as I said earlier, can be really, really restricting. What I've found, though, has been the case with a lot of people that I've worked with, is that often people who are like that, and I mean that in a respectful way, if that is your way of working, where you don't want much structure at all, but actually I've found that if you align with that, often you don't have any or very little structure. And the issue with that is that it may mean that you're actually not getting the right things done, being able to focus without too much distraction, and without having what I'm calling this shaping to your day. So what I propose, because I'm such a fan of yin and yang, the masculine and the feminine energy, and the way that we do things, for both men and women. As you know, it's not gender-based, it's actually energy-based. And the way that I see it is to have the best of both worlds. So by all means, bring in all that gorgeous yin energy that's around the emotions, around spiritual energy, and psychic, intuitive guidance. And also the creativity, allowing there to be that space for creativity, that inspiration in the moment. To have that, but this is where the shaping comes in. Have perhaps around that a little bit of containment. And that's where there's a bit of flexible structure, or the shaping, as I mentioned. So what can that look like in everyday life? So instead of structuring every little part of your day, I'm not suggesting that you do that at all, but maybe put in some containment in terms of your time, in your diary, your calendar, that are just broad brushed strokes in terms of the time that you do it, and also what it is that you do at that time. So what I do, that I found really works for me, is I put in blocks of time in my day. It's not every half an hour, it's usually every couple of hours. And I know that I've got, say, 2 or 3 hours to work on something, to focus on something. And then I might have the general category or the area that I want to focus on. So if I'm thinking of my business day, then I might be thinking, okay, I've got 2 hours and I want to write some content for my social media posting or blog or whatever it might be. Now within that, so there's that containment where I know that this is generally what I'm supposed to be doing. But within that is the flexibility, perhaps to do things like working out what it is, deciding in the moment, the inspiration, the creativity that you have as to what your blog, for instance, might be. You know, you might have previously thought of what might be some examples or some ideas around blogging, and I really encourage you to capture your ideas if you're not doing that already, in terms of, well, it's inspiration in the moment. But then you actually have a pool to choose from, and that's where this flexibility comes into it. As I said, you set aside 2 or 3 hours, say, for something that you really want to focus on. And I'm talking here about the things that really take a fair bit of concentration, where you really want to immerse yourself. And that's the thing, for us creative spiritual types, once we're in the flow, it is so hard to stop. Oh, I hate it when I'm really, really going with the flow, and to have to stop because, I don't know, I try not to have that happen, but who knows, maybe it's an important phone call you've been waiting for, or you've got an appointment or something's come up. You know, if you've got kids, often they're not going to be fitting in with your time schedule. So you need to have, again, that flexibility. But it can be really hard to stop what you're doing when you're in the flow. So that's why I much prefer having longer periods of time. Doesn't mean you have to work for those whole 2 or 3 hours, but it means that you've protected that, put aside that time, and you can really, really immerse yourself in it. And I think then we really give ourselves the space energetically to tap into what it is that we want to be focusing on. So we might have an idea of what we want to write on in our blog, and here's the time that we have protected to really work out what it is, to write it, to feel that we are in sync and alignment with what our messages are that we're writing with the blog, for instance. So there's that little bit of containment where, as I said, there's that 2 or 3 hour time period. And I know roughly what I'm going to be doing. I've got the topic sort of thing, the category or the hats that I actually refer to them as. And I will go through in another video how to work out what all our different, what I think are our main work hats. Obviously, they'll vary a little bit between businesses, but roughly speaking, so that you know that in your week, there's certain areas of your business that you really need to be focusing on. Now, you may be doing this and don't need any support, and that's fine. But when we have a lot of moving parts that make up our businesses, you want to make sure that you're actually really paying attention to the ones that are most important, that are going to be progressing your business further. And you can apply this to your personal life as well. If I'm wanting to declutter in my room, for instance, I often find, don't you find too, that you start, and then if you get interrupted for whatever reason, or you run out of time, you've got something else to do afterwards, and you're right into it, it's so hard to finish. So that's what I was saying about having the containment around there. But getting back to the example of the blogging, or if it was the decluttering, it might be that I think, okay, I'm going to be decluttering at this point in time. And then maybe when you come to that time, it's up to you how you feel in that moment, how inspired you are as to whether you want to actually do something perhaps that's more quiet, that might be around sorting through your wardrobe for clothes that you can put out for recycling, or whether you want to get out in the garage and you want to be, banging and crashing and moving things around, or in the pantry or something in the kitchen. That's what I think is the absolute balance and the beauty of having the yang, which is the containment, the time period, for instance, and the general topic that's been worked out or decided, and then the yin, with how you feel intuitively, emotionally, energetically within that time period. I absolutely believe it's the best of both worlds. It has worked for me. It has made it so much more fun, and it's really helped me in my business and in my personal life generally. And it has for lots of people I've worked with. And I really would encourage you to explore how you can use this more in your business, in your life. And as usual, if you have any questions, any comments, put them in the comments section below. And if you would like support with this, I really encourage you to reach out to me so that I can give you some support. We can work out if that's something that aligns with both of us. This is just the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, with how you can use this this way of working that, to me, as I said, creates the flow, but also ensures that, as I said, I'm getting things done and the important things are being focused upon, because that's what we want. So I will leave it there. I will wish you all the best. If you do put this into action and would like to share, let me know how it goes for you, if you've tried it out, and see how it works. Oh, hi, Carol. I'm just about to finish, darling. So sorry about that, but please do watch the replay. And anybody else, of course, or everybody else, I encourage you to do that. And as I said, any questions, any comments, any feedback, any support that you would like, please do get in touch with me. Okay, I will leave it there. Namaste. Love to you all. Bye for now.